So namaste everybody, and welcome to part 8 of Atisha's Advice from the Heart. So in this session, we're going to be looking at verses 38 to 45. So verse 38 says, "Since hatred is rife in these impure times, don the armor of patience, free from anger." So how to fight anger and hatred is through patience, is learning how we can be patient. It is so difficult, I understand, that we've been brought up to express our feelings, and we've been brought up to discriminate and see this is good and this is bad. So, of course, these feelings of anger and hatred, they arise in us. But if we had patience, if we had tolerance, then they wouldn't arise in us. And there are 3 ways that we can slowly start to build patience into our lives. The first one is through meditation. Spending 5, 10, 15 minutes each morning just sitting quietly somewhere and trying to keep your focus on the breath, just coming in and going out and coming in and going out. And of course, your mind will wander. Once it wanders, just gently keep bringing it back and watching your breath. What you're doing there is you're training your mind to pay attention, to be focused, to be less distracted and stay in the present moment. And you're also calming yourself down. You're starting your day off with a calm, relaxed and peaceful mind. When our mind is calm and relaxed, we're more likely to be patient and tolerant with people. It's when we are tired and we are irritable, and that is when we start to become angry. So meditation is one way of helping us to train our mind to be focused, be present in the moment, and to be calm. Another way is throughout the days to use mindfulness practices, these informal mindfulness practices to keep bringing ourselves back. So you could use your breath, you could use bringing your awareness to your body, or you could use any of your 5 senses and keep using these different practices throughout the day to keep bringing yourself back. When we're in the present moment, we have choices. When we're in the present moment, we can make good, conscious, realistic decisions. It's when our mind is being taken over by the subconscious mind and we're just reacting and we're not conscious of what's going on, which is, the scientists say, around 47% of our day is that we're not focused. So it's a little scary figure, that means. It just means like 53% of our day we are actually being focused, we are conscious, we're able to make good, realistic decisions instead of catastrophizing or generalizing or letting our imaginations run wild. So another way to help build patience and tolerance is to keep bringing yourself back to the present moment. And the third way of doing it is to do a reflection practice at the end of each day. Sit down, have a look. What worked for you today? Look at it. By looking at it, you're going to reinforce that behavior for the next time that situation or a similar situation arises. Then you look at things that didn't work out for you. So maybe you got angry, or you got frustrated, or you felt this feeling of hatred in your heart. So look at that and then examine that. Why was that? What was it about that situation? How could I have handled it better? So by using meditation, mindfulness and reflection practice, what you're doing is you're training your mind to be more calm, more tolerant, more peaceful. And in that way, when we're living in times of hatred and anger, we are staying calm. We are staying nice and peaceful. Nothing gets resolved with anger. You know, when you're shouting at somebody and they're shouting at you, you're not listening to them and they're not listening to you. So what is the benefit? Nothing is to be gained by that. So we have to be careful So by building patience, by becoming more tolerant, what we're going to do is we're going to stay calm, focus, make good conscious decisions. So verse 39 says, you remain in samsara through the power of laziness. Therefore, ignite the fire of effort of application. So let's just break that down a little bit. So we remain in samsara. So samsara is this world, the world of desire, the world of emotional and psychological suffering. This is samsara. It is the world that we live in now. And we stay here in this world. We stay here because of our laziness. So we have to ignite the fire of effort, of application. So what it means, light that fire of practice, actually get down and do the practice, not necessarily just sit and listen to teachings like this or read books. I mean, do the practice. That way you're going to get yourself out of samsara. So remember that samsara is the world we live in, and nirvana is what we're hoping to aim for, which is like an awakened mind. But remember, the samsara and nirvana exist here in your head. They are just different sides of the same coin. It isn't like you're going to leave here and go to another place. It just means that you become more aware of what is going on and you understand the way the world works. And we'll talk about this a little bit later on in this session. So we have to put in the effort. If you don't put in the effort, you're never going to get a result. I mean, it's clear, we know that. So what stops us? You know, if you're having some emotional suffering at the moment, or you're suffering psychologically, or, you know, you've got repetitive thoughts, or you're becoming anxious and stressed. If we put in the effort, we can deal with all those. Remember, all of those are existing here in the head, in your head. So you're the one that has to practice. And as I've said several times before, that for me, Buddhism is not a religion. It's not a philosophy. It's a path of practice. It means if you enter this path and practice the Buddhist way, then you're going to calm that mind down. You're going to have a peaceful mind. You're going to see the world as it really is. So it means that you're not being drawn by biases and wrong views. We can only do that when we put in the effort. If we don't put in any effort, then, you know, we're never going to light this fire in us. We're never going to be able to pull ourselves away from this mind that is full of desires and hatred and anger, and have a mind of peace and calm, and a mind that sees the world as it is. We can only do all those things by putting in the effort. So verse 39 is about making the effort, putting in the effort for the application, which means put in the effort to do the practices, apply those practices to your life. You know, there are so many people, I've seen them and they come and talk to me and they ask me lots and lots of questions, and then they go away and I don't see them for a while, and then they come back and they're in the same position and they asking the same questions, and I give them the same practices which they don't do, and then they go off again. There is no benefit in this. The only way that we can change our mind, the only way that we can become the best possible person is through practice. It isn't through reading. It isn't through being the most intelligent person or a person who can sit and talk about all the teachings. It's not about that. It's about understanding the teachings. Yeah, of course, we need to understand them, clear up any doubts, meditate on them, turn them from knowledge into wisdom, and apply them. If we don't apply them, they are never going to work. It is no good reading all these manuals on mindfulness and seeing all the mindful practices and never do them. What is the point? So we have to ignite that fire. And we ignite that fire inside of us by putting in the effort and doing the practices. So verse 40 says, since this human life is wasted by indulging in distraction, now is the time to practice concentration. So here concentration means meditation. So it is no point in just spending our whole time trying to distract ourselves. This is what we do. We know that. I'm sure you know that a lot of your life is about distraction. It's about looking at Netflix to distract your mind from what actually is going on. Or it's going to the mall and do some shopping, or going out and with your friends and getting drunk. All these things are distractions. And why do you want these distractions? We want those distractions because we can't face up to the truth. We can't face what's going on inside us. Or not that we can't, that we don't want to. It's so much easier to just distract myself and let's hope it all goes away. But guess what? It doesn't all go away. We're here, and these distractions keep coming back time after time after time. Lots of people complain about having repetitive thoughts. Yeah, they're going to keep coming until you look at them and deal with them. Emotions will keep coming until you look at them and deal with them. So what we need to do is, like it says here, don't waste our time on distractions. We should practice concentrating. So we should sit, learn how to do meditation properly, and then analyze. Analyze what is happening. Why do I think like this? Why do I act like this? The more that we look at ourselves, the more we learn. And we can then start letting go of all those old concepts that are holding us back, all those old biases that we're carrying around with it, all those discriminations. We can start to throw them out and then bring in things that are more helpful and more useful to us. But we can only do that when we meditate, learn how to meditate, and then do proper analytical meditation and look at what has been going on. You know, so many people say things like, I've always been an angry person, I've always been this jealous person, I've always been like this, I've always been like that. And for me, I just think, well, then change. Because if you don't change, it's true, you will always be like that. Now, I'm not saying that it's as easy as change. I know that it's difficult, but if you're just going to fill your life with distractions, then it will always be difficult and you will always be that person. So I'm not telling you don't go out and have fun. We need to have fun, but there has to also be time set aside to practice, to learn about ourselves, to change what needs to be changed and reinforce what needs to be reinforced. Because if we don't, then we're just always going to be on the same path. It amazes me that people do the same thing, get the same result, and they're always shocked. But if you're always going to do the same thing, you are always going to get that same result. No need to be shocked about that. It's only if you do something different will you get a different result. So instead of wasting our time just trying to distract ourselves and pull ourselves away from the real world or this inner world, we need to learn how to meditate and then start to analyze, start to look closely at how can I change, what needs changing, and how can I change that. So verse 41 says, being under the influence of wrong views, you don't realize the ultimate nature of things. Therefore, investigate correct meanings. So we've spoken about this earlier on, about having wrong views. If we're under the influence of wrong views, so if we think that, you know, everything is destiny, everything is written, then we're never going to understand cause and effect. And cause and effect is exactly how the world works. It doesn't work by being written in a great book or destiny. It works by cause and effect. So if we don't understand that, then of course we're always going to be going down the wrong path. And, you know, it's so much easier to say, I understand it's destiny and, you know, or you blame people, it's their fault. But what we should be looking at is the cause and effect. And sometimes, as I've said before in this series, that it's not just us. It's not like I do something good and something good happens to me, because I don't live in a bubble. You know, I live in the world of 7 billion people. So what I do, my actions are going to affect other people and their actions are going to affect me. And that is how the world goes round. And sometimes we can't even find the cause. And a lot of the time, there isn't one cause of anything. There are many causes come together which make this effect. So by understanding that, we're heading in the right direction. The same when we hold on and grasp at things, because we know that everything is impermanent on an intellectual level, on a knowledge level, but we don't understand it on a wisdom level. So a wisdom level means that we understand it fully. We live our life that way. We experience it. So knowledge is secondhand. It's always something that you learn from somebody. Wisdom is always firsthand. It's your wisdom. It's your experience. It's your realization. So when we understand, realize, have wisdom about impermanence, then we live our lives differently because we don't get attached to things. I mean, these are just two things that can take us down the wrong path. So to be able to go down any type of spiritual path, first of all, we have to get a correct view, a skillful view. If we don't have these wise and skillful views, then we're going to be going down the wrong path. So we need to be understanding the teachings like the Four Noble Truths, attachment, impermanence, non-self, cause and effect. All of these things we need to be studying, understanding, getting the knowledge, meditating on that knowledge and turning that knowledge into wisdom, making it a realization. This is how I live my life. And by doing that, then it means that we're on the right path. And when we're on the right path, that is when your mind is going to become awakened. That is when you're going to become the best possible person you can be. So verse 42 said, friends, I like it when he says friends, there is no happiness in the swamp of samsara. So move to the firm ground of liberation. I do like swamp of samsara. I think it sums it up quite nicely. There is no happiness in this desire realm, in this world full of desire and attachment and discrimination. There is no happiness there. In fact, there is no happiness outside of us. Fleeting, little bits, moments of happiness. True happiness is when we get on that firm ground of liberation. So firm ground of liberation here means that we start to become awake and we start to open up our mind. It is only at that point that when we're meditating and being mindful and doing reflection practices, that we're actually now going to be able to open up our minds. We're actually going to be able to change ourselves. If you never stop and look, you will never have the opportunity to change. And you will always stay in that swamp of samsara. And in that swamp of samsara is depression, anxiety, stress, overwhelm, fear. All of these things are all in this swamp of samsara. And by looking at them, analysing them, seeing what needs to be changed and then change it, then you're going to have the awakened mind. You're going to be on that firm ground of liberation. So verse 43 says, meditate according to the advice of your spiritual guide and dry up that river of samsaric suffering. If you're going to really learn meditation, Now, I know that what I'm going to say here, I know the irony of what I'm going to say here. You cannot learn it on an app. You cannot learn it from YouTube. You cannot learn it from, I won't name any apps, but any of the meditation apps. They are great to start you off. They are great to get a bit of interest going in you. But if you really, really want to go deep into meditation, you need a spiritual guide. Now, that spiritual guide, that teacher, that mentor, facilitator, whatever you want to call it, doesn't have to be in the room with you. So you can do it across Zoom or FaceTime or whatever. But you need a teacher. Because when you go into meditation, it's not always plain sailing. I mean, there are going to be times, especially if you're looking at your mind and you're starting to dig up things from the past and things that your mind has tried to keep buried from your childhood or from your early life. They come up and it can be quite difficult for us. I mean, it is a good thing to do, but you need somebody there who's been through that, who can guide you, who can tell you, okay, to stop at the moment, stop meditating, or try this practice, or do this. You can't get that from an app. From an app, you're only ever going to get guided meditations on how to stop anger and how to be more compassionate. I'm not putting them down because I do them myself and they are great for single purpose things. But if you really want to learn meditation, you will never get it from an app, no matter what the app tells you, no matter who runs the app or how many people follow the app or how many downloads it's got. If you seriously want to learn meditation, you can only do that by having a spiritual guide. So we've come to the end now of Atisha's advice. And verse 44 says, you should consider this well. So he means all of these teachings over the past 8 sessions. You should consider this well, because it's not just words from the mouth, but sincere advice from the heart, sincere advice from Atisha's heart. So it's not just blind words. It's not just things that he's making up. He sincerely means them from his heart. So you should consider all of these teachings well. And the last verse 45, he says, if you practice like this, you'll delight me and you'll bring happiness to yourself and to others. So here when he says, if you practice like this, you'll delight me, not me, you'll delight Atisha. And we should be delighting Atisha. We should be thanking Atisha for these fantastic teachings. 45 verses full of wisdom, full of help, full of practical guidance. So that brings us to the end of this series on Atisha's advice from the heart. I want to thank everybody who's watched this whole series, not just live, but the people who watch it afterwards and who watch it on YouTube. Thank you for all your comments. And if you have any comments about today's practice and today's session, then please leave it in the comment part of this, or you can send me an email. I will be back with other things later on. Maybe in a month or so, I'll come back on Sundays with meditation practice. We'll do a half-an-hour meditation every Sunday. But for now, everything comes to an end. Nothing is permanent. So this is coming to an end. I really do want to thank you. You've been wonderful. You've had lots of good comments. You've asked lots of good questions. And I hope you've learned something from this. So stay safe. And I look forward to seeing you again when I come live in another session. Until then, namaste. If you enjoyed this video, then press the subscribe button now. And don't forget to share the video with your friends.